One of the shooting and hunting industry's fastest growing areas of interest is the firearm suppressor business. Today on Remington's Inside the Industry, I'm visiting with Silencer Central CEO Brandon Maddox, one of the most recognized voices on the subject, including the laws and regulations that the American shooter must understand and abide by. This podcast is brought to you by Remington Firearms. For more information on the new era of Remington, visit our site at remarms.com. Hey, Brandon. Thanks for joining us today. Really appreciate your taking the time. My little notes here tell me that you are located in Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Christy Nome.
Yes, there you go. Exactly. Popular response.
Well, the thing is that everybody knows certain things about South Dakota.
Right.
Got a couple of things there, I think. But Christy Nome has kind of taken over. So whenever anybody talks about South Dakota, automatically Christy Nome.
Yeah, absolutely. No, for sure.
Which I think is, kind of cool because I think she's done a great job, but I don't know. I don't live there. So, look, I'm a big suppressor fan. I have to tell you, I don't know why anybody ever shoots a gun without a suppressor.
Agreed.
And I don't know why the United States doesn't allow them, but we'll get to that a little bit. Tell me how you got in this industry.
Yeah, good question. So, when I moved to South Dakota, I'm originally from the South, and honestly,
the South is really big.
Yeah, good point. Southeast. So I was born in Alabama, raised in Georgia, then school in North Carolina. So
okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I lived in Florida for a while for work. But my wife is from South Dakota, so that's how I ended up here. But I'm not sure I'd ever heard of prairie dogs very much until moving here. But the idea of shooting something that you could do in the summer and that people were excited for you to come do, and you didn't have to worry about, cooking or eating, and there was plenty of shots and opportunities to shoot, got me very interested in varmint hunting. I became sort of like a huge hobby to prairie dog hunt. I was a regional manager for a pharma company, and I was covering a big geography in the western part of, South Dakota and into Montana and Wyoming. And, it stays light till, 9:30, 10 o'clock at night in some of those areas.
I'm from Western Canada.
Aha.
And my family, we've got, one side of the family is way up north, and we even today have a golf tournament that starts at midnight. So
wow.
I get the staying late.
Yeah, I just started shooting prairie dogs after work, and it's just so much fun. But the problem obviously was typically as soon as you shoot, they're astute enough to know I better go hide. This doesn't sound like it's going to end well. And then, you hated to drive that far, take one shot, and they all kind of disappear. So that's why decided to buy a suppressor. It worked beautifully. The only problem was the process locally was horrible. So I got a license really to make the process easier for me, kind of selfishly and personally. And then I found a lot of other people were also interested in that same kind of, how do we make this a little easier and a little quicker?
I'll tell you a quick prairie dog story. I was elk hunting about 2 years ago in southern Colorado, just near the New Mexico border.
Right.
And I got my elk the first day. And so we were hunting elk on the west side of I-25, which is kind of mountainous, pretty good hills, trees, etc. On the east side, it's fairly flat. And the outfitter that I was with, he said, "Hey, let's go hunting prairie dogs." And I said, "Okay, perfect." So we stopped, and there's some out at 100 yards, 150 yards. They're all over the place. His son had a trailer that, a mobile home rather, or a motor home, not a motor home, mobile home, parked on the property. It was a big ranch. And I said, "Is there a deck off the back of that?" He said, "Yeah, there is." I said, does he have a shooting stand there? Has he got a table? He said, "Yeah." I said, "Let's go shoot from there." So we were shooting prairie dogs out at 700 yards.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, absolutely.
And this is an outfitter, very well known one. He said, "Ken, I haven't had this much fun in years." Just laughing and laughing. Both of us had suppressors on our guns,
Oh yeah, it's
and
a
out
game
at
changer.
700 yards, and we just had a blast for 2 days.
Yeah, it's a game changer.
Yeah,
It's awesome. I love
yeah. Anyway, that's my prairie dog story.
it. I can relate.
So, then how did this turn into a business?
Yeah, good question. So, most people know I'm a pharmacist by trade, so I'm very detail oriented, far as just the training you go through, right product, right bottle, right patient, right medication, right doctor, just kind of very detail oriented. Um, so I'm very detail oriented with the paperwork for getting the suppressor, and yeah, my in-laws, I've got, several brother-in-laws that are gun nuts, and when they heard I had a license to buy suppressors, they asked me to help them, and then I ended up helping their friends. And then really I just started working events. I started working gun shows. So I worked every gun show in South Dakota, and as you worked shows that bordered other states, we ended up getting licenses in those states because you can't sell NFA items directly. It's sort of like a handgun. You have to be licensed in the same state as
Yeah.
the customer. So next was like North Dakota, and then I got Nebraska, and then I got Wyoming, and then I got Montana, and then they became legal in Iowa, and then they became legal in Minnesota. And now, we're up into 42 states, so we're licensed in every state where suppressors are legal. But it all kind of started in working just events, kind of getting to know people face to face, and then doing all the paperwork right there at the show, right in front of them. So when they leave, they're done.
So, what states do not allow suppressors
Yeah, good
today?
question. So the only state sort of in the Midwest would be Illinois. Then if you swing over the West Coast, it's California. Then if you swing over the East Coast, it's Delaware, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, New York, New Jersey, and then you have Hawaii.
Okay, so who gives a shit about those guys in
Yeah,
the East Coast?
exactly. Yeah, totally, totally. Big
And
populous
and
states, but I agree.
over way west, who gives a shit about them either?
Yeah, totally, 100%. Yeah, I agree. I
I'm
always say
okay.
it's the dark, dark, dark blue states. Don't let them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Let them let them shoot their loud guns all they want.
100%.
How long is it taking today? Look, before I get into that, one of my great disappointments was the first 2 years that Trump was in
Yeah,
office,
totally.
and and the Safe Hearing Act
Yep.
was supposed to be high on his agenda, and he had total control for the first 2 years, and that never came to fruition.
Yeah.
One of the big disappointments, because I personally think we're so far behind with suppressors, it's ludicrous. In the UK, it's against the law to use anything that is not suppressed.
Right.
In Africa, in every nation you go through in Africa, you can buy them at the local freaking gas station if you
Yeah.
like.
Yeah.
And here we wait. I don't know how long today.
That's a good question. So in December of 2021, so December 23rd, the feds implemented an all digital process. And I've gotten people approved in as quick as 9 days. Now, the hard part is I've still got about 40,000 people that are waiting on paper approvals that some of them are over a year, close to a year and a
I
half.
see.
So they've kind of got this dichotomous two different paths right now. And it's hard for ATF because they'll, even behind closed doors or publicly, they'll say that, they want to put 100% of their efforts behind the paper because they got so behind during the pandemic just with, rioting, social unrest, demand was higher. They want to really flush that, sort of that work in progress out and get those approved before they double down on approving the digital ones because it just creates so much angst between the two groups. So, as soon as one of our customers gets approved in 2 weeks and puts it on, Facebook, then you got the guy that's been waiting a year and a half who's just irate and doesn't understand what we did wrong. And, but the reality is I do honestly think long term, it's going to be a situation where it's going to be a 45-day process, believe it or not.
Well, that'd be pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
Mine took, I think, I was pretty happy with mine, which is 2 or 3 years ago, and I think at the time it took, I'm going to say about 7 months, which I was expecting it to take longer.
Yeah, no, that's not bad. It's So they run the background checks digitally, and that if anyone comes back that's been arrested, or if they have a name of the same name and similar birth date of a felon, it has to be manually reviewed, and then that just adds so much time because there's no federal statute that mandates that they be reviewed. Like the priority is if someone's trying to buy a handgun in a local gun store to do a background check and get a decision super quick on that, whereas where there's no statute that makes the FBI do that for silencers. So they sit idle. So, as long as you go through and you have a clean background check, never been arrested, no felons with a similar name, date of birth, it can fly through a lot quicker than if you have a similar name. Because anytime I see someone at an event, they're like, "Man, I've been waiting a year and a half." I'll say, "What's your name?" And it's like John Johnson, or it's a common name, unfortunately.
I had years ago. I applied for a global entry,
Oh yeah.
and they said that there was a person with the same name as me that was a felon.
Oh,
Yet I applied for my suppressor, and I'm on our FFL.
oh sure, yeah.
So
Responsible
yeah,
party, yeah.
it's a responsible person,
Yeah.
exactly. And with NFA items and everything, you'd think that they'd figure out pretty quickly that no, this isn't the guy.
Yeah, yeah, especially
You
when
know,
your fingerprints wouldn't match.
well, one
Yeah.
would think so, but
Yeah,
you know,
true.
who knows?
Totally.
Um, you know, I imagine. I mean, are you seeing a huge uptick in suppressor? Well, let me go a little bit further. So, you're not the manufacturer; you're a seller. Is that
Good
right?
good question. So we do manufacture. So
Oh, you manufacture as
yeah,
well.
so that's kind of one of the our whole mission in life is how do we make this process simple and easy, and it just seems like it's so much simpler and easier if we're we got $100 million worth of inventory sitting on the shelf, so we could just as people call, we're issuing those serial numbers to people as they're calling and as they're buying online. So it's just so much more efficient to not have to go through a wholesaler, manufacturer, and all that. You can cut all that out. We're like your single point of contact. Now, what I should say is we're a dealer, so we can sell anything. But one advantage to working with the products we have on the shelf is we can just run them through so much quicker.
Well, and look, if I was a suppressor manufacturer, I go, why do I want to deal with these guys?
Yeah, yeah. You mean like dealing
You
with
know,
us?
oh yeah. Well, if I was a manufacturer,
Yeah,
if I made suppressors, you're actually my competition.
yeah. No, I agree totally. Yeah, absolutely. Because the hard part is people call and say, "Hey, I want X, Y, Z," and we're like, "Yeah, we can get it, but we got to go to the wholesaler and buy it," and that assumes the wholesaler can get it from the manufacturer. And I've been doing this for since 2005. So over the last 17 years, there's times when before the e-form started, it was 6 months to transfer from the manufacturer to the wholesaler, and then 6 months from the wholesaler to the dealer. So you almost had a year window in there before you even saw a product that you could put on the shelf and sell. So it's been all about, gosh, if we're working a ton of events, a ton of shows, how do we have product on the shelf? Yeah, so it is different. I mean, we're handling hundreds of calls a day inbound to our call center, whereas, a manufacturer would typically sell to say 5 wholesalers, and that's it.
So is your brand name the Silencer Central or?
Good question. It's called Banish. So it's a product that we created internally, starting out here, mostly very attracted to the hunting community. 100% titanium, so it's lightweight, super quiet. Hunters want it as quiet as possible, come apart to clean, get the carbon out. So we really kind of focused on the hunting market. But we found that, your regular tactical shooter, they're not going to complain if it's light and it's quiet.
They only complain about the price.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, totally, 100%. And then I always say we let you pay while you wait. So we started that as shows. Guys would come up and say, "My wife will kill me if I spend this much today." And we're like, "Hey, you got $100 bill? Put it on the table. We'll do all your paperwork. We'll submit the paperwork to the feds. We'll let you pay while you wait. There's no interest. There's no fees, no penalties. We'll process your paperwork same as if you paid all of it today. And as long as you have it paid off before we mail it to you, we're all good."
And your wife will never know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 100%. No, it totally worked. Guys are like, "Wow, I was worried about getting one. Now I think I'm going to get two."
Yeah, exactly. I think I can get a couple of $100 a month without her knowing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
I
that's
love it.
that's sort of the rub we give them. We're like, all right, we're gonna have to take your man card if you can't squirrel away $100 a month, we got a problem.
So, what kind of growth are you seeing in suppressor sales?
Yeah, if you look at the national chart, far as like number of silencers transferred and made per year, it grows about 40% over the last since 2009 is when it really started picking up. Of course, we're seeing like 100% growth every year. So since
Yeah,
2005, we've always doubled our sales every year, and it's a little misleading because every year we added more stores. So when the first year it was just South Dakota, and the second year was South Dakota and North Dakota, and then it was South Dakota, North Dakota, and other states. So and now we're doing it. It made it easier for us from a communication and marketing perspective to say, hey, we're licensed in every state where they're legal. You call us, buy it online, and we'll ship it to your front door when it's approved. So that helped us kind of take the message to the masses via, print, media, digital, everything. Whereas before it was really only at events.
what do you think when you watch television and or you go to the movies and you see no sound coming from a shot?
Yeah, totally. Well, obviously, the negative of that is our elected officials buy into that, and then they perceive it as a product that could be a public safety issue. It's just a
Right.
implied understanding in their mind it's a public safety issue. But then when you look at the actual data, rarely are silencers that were lawfully acquired, rarely are they ever used in any type of crime.
Well, that's true. But the second thing is they're not silent.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, totally, 100%. Yeah,
You
that's
know,
the
I
totally.
mean, they suppress the sound. I love shooting with them because I don't have to wear earplugs. They reduce the recoil, but they are not silent.
No, absolutely not. Yeah, and then the goal really is just to be hearing safe. But yeah, totally. And
I
then
mean, look, if I want to have a subsonic round, then they're fairly quiet. But anything else, like my hundred, my the suppressor that I use in my 300 Win Mag, it's noisy.
oh yeah, no, I could see that. Um, we'll have to get you one of ours then.
Oh, look, you can get me one. You can get me one anytime you like.
Yeah,
I'll
absolutely. Yeah.
probably be like one of the cheap tactical guys. So I'm warning you in advance.
Yeah, no, we'll hook you up with one. Yeah, no, I mean, because what's interesting is like we did some research and there's very few silencers that are Win Mag rated, but most of them will say rated, but they won't say they're hearing safe. So typically they're kind of most 30 cal silencers are made to try to keep, say, a 308 hearing safe. So once you throw a Win Mag or a Weatherby or a Rum in there, it's going to be not even hearing safe. So that's something we really focused on because honestly, what I learned out here in North Dakota and South Dakota, where we really focused our first 4 or 5 years, almost everyone that's all they shoot is a Win Mag or a Rum. So if your customers only shoot the highest calibers, you got to make sure you're hearing safe and quiet on those specifically, more so than maybe some of the southern states where you got so much tree coverage, it's hard to shoot such long distances.
Right. Well, the first one I got was I don't shoot a 300 rem any longer or Win. Now I'm kind of a 7 millimeter rem mag, which
Oh
is
yeah,
a little quieter.
yeah,
But the ballistics. Look, I could talk about why I shoot it for a long time. It's just a better round, I think,
yeah,
or a 6.5. But it's interesting because going back to the sound, I think a lot of the elected officials, a lot of people believe the bullshit that they see on television,
yeah,
that those are absolutely quiet. All you hear is a little,
yeah.
and that's it, which just is not factual.
No, no, and there was a shooting that was done with a suppressor where it was like an employee went back after he got terminated or something, and it caught Trump's. Someone asked him what he thought about suppressors, and I don't think he realized how highly regulated they are because he thought it was sort of like the bump stock where it's not treated as a firearm. But once I think someone educated him on the entire process to buy a suppressor, he got kind of quiet on the regulatory side.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. So, what's the kind of walk me through the what people have to do today if they contact you to get a suppressor,
Sure.
what do they have to go through? Just walk me through the process.
Yeah, good question. And I would say that's the biggest question every customer has. And honestly, it's the biggest obstacle too. So the reason why people don't buy is they're afraid of the unknown, or they've been told by their buddy how difficult it is. So in simplest terms, I always tell people it's a title transfer. It's very analogous to buying a truck, where the difference is, you leave with a truck if you buy it off the lot, whereas this, you obviously got to wait till the feds approve you. But the feds have title of the silencer being owned by us, Silencer Central, the dealer, the manufacturer, and then we essentially do the paperwork to ask the feds to transfer the title of ownership from us, the dealer, to that customer, and then they do a background check. The FBI does for the ATF before they approve it, and they mail the approval to us, and then we mail the suppressor to their front door. But the information they need. So we always recommend our customers use a gun trust, which we provide free of charge. The benefits of the gun trust are that once it's approved, you can add anyone 18 or older who's not a prohibited person, and they can use that suppressor when you're not there. You can also identify who gets it when you pass away, so you don't have to worry about what's going to happen when you're gone to your product. It's already sort of taken care of and covered. So we would create a gun trust for the customer. We generate all the paperwork for them and send it to them electronically, where they just basically do an e-signature sign on it. We do ask, we need a 2x2 picture. So some people call it a passport photo. It doesn't necessarily have to be a passport photo. Most of our customers kind of do a selfie on their phone, upload it to us, and then we, submit it to the ATF. The one thing we do need are fingerprints. So we send a blank fingerprint card to our customers with a little ink. We have a video where it tells you how to take your own prints. I always say it works because we rarely get a call saying it didn't, and I don't remember ever getting any rejected. It's just one of those things. So when the customer uploads their photo, we clean that up. When they send us their fingerprints, we scan it in and convert it digital. We upload all this to the feds. We upload the completed paperwork you signed electronically. We upload digitally the photo you gave us. We upload digitally the trust that you signed that we created for you, and then we upload the fingerprints. We hit submit. It goes to the feds. When it comes back approved, we get a digital approval, like a PDF. It emails the customer the PDF at the same time. We have a process where we can do the 4473, the paperwork you do when you pick up any firearm. We can do it remotely. Same thing, digital e-signature. And then once you do that, we can mail the suppressor. So we mail the suppressor from South Dakota to the state you live in, because we have a license in every state, and then we mail it from that location to your front door.
Wow.
Yeah. No,
I'll sign up.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's smooth.
Yeah.
So which state are you in again? Are you Texas as well?
Texas. Yeah,
Yeah,
Texas.
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's definitely our biggest state. So, South Dakota was biggest forever just because we started here and been here forever. But yeah, Texas is huge for us. What I like about Texas is everyone pretty much is aware they're legal. They're aware of the benefits. They may not know 100% how they get them, but there's an awareness, and they have a sense of the benefits of recoil reduction and sound reduction, the benefits to hunting. Whereas a lot of markets you go to, they just don't have enough penetration of people that own them. So there's not as much of an awareness. You have to spend more time educating the benefits of the product. Whereas Texas, it's like, I'll take two. And I'm like, perfect. Why didn't we come here sooner?
Yeah, well, that's because everybody in Texas has a gun.
I know, totally. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But look, there's a good reason that the crime is less in Texas per capita than it is in a lot of places. Because you just never know what you're running into. So
yeah, totally. Yeah, totally. No, it's
there is, though, if I'm not mistaken, has been a recent legislation in Texas that if a suppressor is manufactured in Texas, you can buy it. It's the same as you do with firearms, no wait time, et cetera, but it can only be used in Texas. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's a good question. So there's about 13 states that have approved that. So here's the difficult part. So the feds would say they still have jurisdiction over that, and the feds could prosecute you and put you in jail. So, it's great that Texas has a law that says you can do that, but the feds would say you can't. So I've seen them prosecute people in South Dakota for that, because the question they'll have for us is, we're going to subpoena your records to see if your, stainless steel was made here in South Dakota. And with, it's one of those things that it sounds good on paper, but even if you read sort of the specifics, they say, hey, let someone else try to break this down and get it to work before someone else tries it. Because I think it was Kansas where two guys did that because they had the same law, and they're in jail right now.
Look, to me, the simple fact is that the feds are never going to let anything go away that
Especially
they're
if it
making
generates,
money on.
yeah, it generates revenue for them. Absolutely. And it's a control
Yeah,
thing too. It just, my
yeah.
experience is people that have their hand in their control of something, they don't want to give that up. Yeah, that's the unfortunate part. I mean, it's great. It's good messaging because I think it reminds people in Texas that they're legal, but then it creates more difficulty because then people are like, well, I want the one that's made here. And it's like, well, the hard part is, obviously we can sell it because we're a dealer. We have to comply with federal law. And the problem is if you got caught with it and the feds decide to prosecute you, they could. So, yeah, they
Well,
need it.
I don't know of anybody that manufactures in Texas anyway.
No, good point. And if they did, it would have, still they would be to get the license to make them, they would have to be licensed federally, and then they would have to
Right.
comply with all federal law. So it would just be, it's almost asking for,
Yeah.
it'd be
Yeah.
tough.
Well, I
Yeah.
remember when I saw it, I thought, well, okay, maybe, but I didn't pay much attention because it was, well, for multiple reasons. I just thought, okay, first of all, we don't have manufacturing in Texas. Second, is exactly what you said. Any ATF licensing is a federal license.
Yeah.
Now you're licensed federally, but you're making something to sell locally that probably should be sold federally. So I
Yeah,
thought,
yeah,
screw it.
yeah,
It makes no
yeah. No,
sense.
yeah, and it's sort of like the whole marijuana thing, right? Because like some of the
Yep.
forums on the 4473 say, hey, marijuana is illegal per federal law. So if you're using it for any reason, even if it's legal in your state, you can't own a firearm. So they try to call that out that just because it's legal at your state level doesn't mean it's federal, and they could prosecute you, and technically you'd be, prohibited from owning a firearm.
Yeah, that wouldn't be good.
Yeah,
Well,
no, totally. Yeah, totally.
and how often do these laws change? Because I'm guessing that just keeping up with the laws from a regulatory standpoint is a full-time job.
Yeah, and for some reason I like it. I don't know why. I mean, I'm the guy that sits on the front row during the compliance discussions. I think that the one thing I
You're a
realized,
weird guy then.
yeah,
Okay,
I know, it is really weird, and I'm not a lawyer. I just, for some reason, I'm very much intrigued. But no, you're right. It changes a lot. I mean, the biggest one was like August 2016. Obama changed some stuff that they started doing background checks on everyone on a trust, whereas before they didn't. A lot of them are typically small changes, but also, the biggest thing really is a lot of these laws are written in 38 for the NFA, and then the regular firearms were 68, so you have to follow both of them. But the hard part is what's really important is how they interpret it, and that's where it's good to be in their presence and just ask them, hey, what's your interpretation of this, and how do you want us to do that? And I'm honest that I raise my hand and say we're a little different. We ask them what we need to do to comply. They tell us, and then we comply. I think that, traditionally dealers have thought, okay, well, how can I get away with this? Or maybe if I don't ask and don't know, I'll be okay. I just feel like for us to scale and to have large employees and large customer bases, it just makes life easier to be upfront and say, okay, um, we don't like the idea that you get to make the rules and interpret them, but we accept the fact you do. Help us understand what they are so that we're not out of compliance.
I I think that holds true with many things. I remember I tell people all the time, marketing is not a huge challenge. All you have to do is get enough people, ask them what they want, and give it to them.
Yeah, totally. 100%.
You know,
Yeah. And say it to them the
and
way they ask for it.
exactly.
Yeah.
And what happens so often, people go, "Yeah, okay, here's a product. Don't you love it?" Well, no, we don't love it.
Yeah.
you know, I remember that one of the first companies in the firearms industry that I took over. The engineer came to me. The head of engineering came to show me a new product, and he was so proud of it. I said, "Ed, it's beautiful." I said, "You won't sell a fucking one of them." "What do you mean?" I said, "Because they're ugly. Nobody wants them."
It's funny.
you know, so I think that's the same with everything. Like, we're stuck with the regulatory issues, whether we like them or not.
Yep.
A, I think we should be in compliance with them at all times. B, I think we should have great relationships. Our company's got tremendous relationship with the ATF,
Yeah.
which I think we should have.
Yeah. No, we do too. I mean, I think it helps. I mean, it just, adversarial relationship doesn't work. And I know that a lot of people that are sort of, in our space sometimes have an adversarial sort of perspective on the ATF. And, that's a different approach, but we just found it works a whole lot better if you say, hey, I get it. You get to make the rules. I don't necessarily like it, but what do we need to do to comply? And I do find that you can have adult conversations then. You can just say, hey, the rules don't talk about digital because they were written in the 60s and the 30s. How do we create a process that meets the requirements you have, but then also helps you in some way? And believe it or not, they'll sit down and help you figure that out.
Yeah, no, I found that the same. Look, I think that time after time after time, these guys are decent human beings. They're doing their job.
Totally.
They don't want to be adversarial. They want to, I've had multiple conversations with different levels of them. They want to support you and help you, providing you're following the regulations.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, as long as you're honest with them. I usually just say, hey, you're not going to like the answer, but we're going to tell you what it is. Or you're going to, I mean, just being 100% honest. They respect that. I think that yeah, I haven't. I mean, I've had some mind just because, we have 43 federal farms licenses, so I had to meet with the ATF in every state and every location and talk to them around renewals and address changes. So I have, interactions with hundreds of ATF people over the last 17 or 18 years, and I can only think of a few that have been difficult to deal with. But everyone else seemed very like, all right, how do we work together to, figure out what we're going to do here to make this work?
Yeah, no, that's what I found too. I found really they're pretty accommodating.
Yeah,
Again, providing that you're upfront and honest.
yeah, absolutely.
I've never found an issue with them.
No, not at all.
What do you kind of have, actually speaking about the ATF? Marvin Richardson, is he going
Yes.
to be the? Will he be the director?
You know,
Because I think Marvin is great. I really do. I think
yeah, yeah, no,
he's been
Marvin's
good to
visit.
deal with. He's been
Yeah, he's visited us in South Dakota before. Like, took a trip just to visit with us. My understanding is they appointed a new director, and he's kind of like the assistant director now. So he's getting the new guy up to speed. And of course, the new guy is just sitting in the chair until they can hopefully, the Democrats want to get, or Biden wants to get his own pick confirmed. I think their goal of plugging someone into that position instantly and then putting someone to get approved, which, talking to industry leadership, far as the political side, they do feel like that the candidate will get approved just because they used all their, sort of mulligans and brownie points to get the other guy off the list. So they
yeah.
don't really have much, powder left to get rid of this nominee. But, I think they've extended Marvin's opportunity to retire. I think there's a mandated age that he's at, and they've continued to let that go over the years. He gave a sort of a semi-public address at a compliance conference I went to just a few weeks ago. He teed it up as that there's some statutory requirements where he can only be the acting director for a certain period of time. So there's no way he could have held that position forever. So, it's hard to know what's going on behind the scenes. There's some scuttlebutt that he was too cuddly with the industry. And, I think people did a good job of defending him that, at the end of the day, there is no national serial number registry for firearms. So if a crime's committed, you have to involve the manufacturer, the wholesaler, and the dealer to figure out who has that firearm. And those are all license holders, we're all licensees. So it makes sense for law enforcement to have a positive relationship with the FFL dealers or the licensees because they're the ones that have all the information they need to solve these crimes. So, yeah, I feel like, Marvin Richardson got the short straw. That, it just feels like publicly when I read stuff that he was put aside because they didn't think he was hard enough on the industry.
I think he was. Look, I think he was great, but I think he was great because he was a straight shooter.
Yeah, totally,
No,
100%.
no, not because he did any favors or anything like that. Because he was cozy with the industry. He followed the law to the letter of the law and did exactly what he was supposed to do, and did it in a polite, professional manner.
Yeah, and he could be direct and blunt. He's just like, hey, Brandon, sometimes you're going to get answers you don't like, but it is what it is.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, there was no, hey, we're going to work with you. It's like, hey, this is it. This is what we're doing. This is how you got to do it. So, yeah, I feel like he sort of got a short straw there. I mean, and you never know what the political reasons were. Biden probably wanted to come across if he's harder on gun control so he can get more political donations on that side. It's unfortunate. I mean, I was always taught with appointing an ATF director. The real thing is the new director can bring in their own legal counsel. And I talked earlier about interpretation of laws. Since these laws are written in the 30s and the 60s, a lot of it is how do they interpret it. And if you can get a Republican nominee in there and they can bring their legal support staff and their appointees on the legal side, it helps so much more than if you let the Democrats get someone in there and then bring their legally appointed people, and the interpretations just start getting tougher. There was years where we'd send them letters and ask them for guidance on certain things that weren't clear in the legislation, and they wouldn't respond. But it seems like when there's Republicans in office, most of the time they are more responsive, just giving you feedback, of kind of a formal legal opinion, almost, if you will, based on the way they interpret the statutes.
Well, Democrats are very busy trying to increase prices.
Yeah,
Not
yeah,
improve, not decrease them, increase them.
yeah, yeah,
Because
absolutely.
that will be their mark for the future.
Yeah,
I mean, we could go into a big long political discussion.
yeah,
Um,
totally.
whatever happened to Regina Lombardo? That was the director, previous director.
I
Did
don't
you know her?
know. No, 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 I don't think so. Oh, which one was it again? Regina?
Regina, yeah.
Yeah, she retired. Yeah, no, I met her years ago. I sat on a compliance conference. And I was like, I can tell you're super important. And she's like, well, honestly, you got three phones. She's like, well, one's FBI, one's Department of Justice, and one's my personal phone. I'm like, again, you're pretty important. Um, yeah, I think she just retired. I think
Okay.
that probably just the unknown of what's next, right? Like,
Yeah, could be.
Democrat gets in, and then I'm acting, and they appoint someone over me, or, you know, yeah,
Who knows?
yeah,
Anyway, look, I agree with you. I think Marvin got maybe the short end of the stick, which is unfortunate. But
yeah,
you know,
totally, totally. Yeah, because I can't
it is what it is.
totally.
Can't do
Yep.
anything about it. When do you think, or do you think these regulations will ever change in a manner that follows a lot of the other countries?
It's a good question. So, like, my position has always been that until voters are educated, they're not going to have an impact on their elected officials. So, if you look, there's only 3 million plus, probably 3 to 3.5 million silencer suppressors in circulation in America who owners have. And most people would tell you that everyone who's bought one owns three. So, there's a million people out there that own suppressors, and there's just not enough people out there to educate their elected officials and to sort of create this mass awareness. And I think that if the popularity continues to grow, people will continue to see the benefits of recoil reduction, sound reduction, benefits to hunting, and really the entire hobbies that they do with a firearm. Hopefully, it gets to enough ownership where it becomes more aware, and then people can educate their elected officials, and then maybe we could have some beneficial laws written that they see that this is not a public safety issue and treat it like a regular firearm.
But do you think, Brandon, in all honesty, that they give a shit to be educated properly?
Probably not. No, I mean, that's a good question. Probably not. I mean, anytime you meet someone, as you've seen with firearms, that has some kind of, apprehension towards it, you start asking some questions. You just see they have zero experience. They don't even know anyone that owns a firearm. So they just have all these negative perceptions about it. And yeah, I agree. They aren't out seeking information to try to figure out how to change their thoughts. Um, it's a tough sell. I mean, I've heard people say that Hearing Protection Act will always struggle because not only do you have to have Republicans in all three branches, but you really need many years in a row of that so you can educate these people and get them up to speed so that they will know that it's not a public safety issue. And that's hard. It just makes an additional heavier burden to have to overcome.
Well, I think probably even more so now because of the, when you look at the number of violent crimes there have been in the last year.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
People just
it's
assume that it could make it worse with this, and yeah,
right.
it's
You know,
unfortunate.
it is unfortunate for multiple reasons. I mean, yeah, don't want to get off track, but it's a shame to even see the government starting to look at, you know, the reality is these violent crimes are not happening because of guns. They're not happening because of lawful gun owners.
Right.
That's not what the problem is.
Yeah.
But they don't seem to want to address what the real problem is. I
Yeah.
saw something the other day that was kind of interesting. Was I don't remember where it was posted. It might have been on LinkedIn, but just the kind of what happened was somebody had a picture of a gun sitting in their door, and at their front door, and they said, "I brought my gun to the front door. I took out some ammunition. I laid next to it. Left the door wide open. I went outside and mowed the lawn, did this, did that, did the other thing. I came back, and to my surprise, the gun hadn't loaded itself.
Yeah.
It hadn't shot anybody.
Yeah.
It was
Totally.
still sitting there with the ammunition next to it.
Yeah.
That's actually perfect.
Yeah. True. Totally.
You um, I was supposed to be at the DSC gala,
Yes.
and I was there last year, and they kindly awarded me with a nice jacket because I
Oh,
gave him a
hey,
couple of dollars.
hey, good for you. That
Um,
yeah, that jacket. Hey, that's
the
impressive.
Ascari jacket, yeah,
Oh yeah, there you go.
it was a real honor.
Good for you.
I'm such a big believer in the Dallas Safari Club and the DSC Foundation.
Yeah, absolutely.
My, but I missed it this year. I was in Turkey on business, so I missed it. But I understand you were one of the presenting sponsors.
Yeah, we were the lead sponsor, so we were honored that Corey and Brian and the team there came to us and identified us as kind of their first choice, and that was during the annual meeting, and we said sure. So then it just has been sort of a back and forth since then, and getting to know the entire team there better has been great as well. Because now I kind of feel like I get calls about, hey, have you ever thought about this opportunity? I'm like, I'm in. What's next? What do we do
Yeah.
next?
Oh, you must obviously they care about you a lot more than me. I never hear from them.
Listen to you. Well, I called Brian and said, hey, the new development guy, I just said, hey, I don't know that I've had a point of contact in the past, and I have a list of other people I think you would benefit from that I don't see here, and they've all worked out really well. So I think he's seen me as, hey, it's a win-win. We can help Brandon get the word out like he wants to, and then he can help us on our end too. So
Look, they're a great organization. You know, I've worked with them for a while now, and they really are a great organization.
yeah, we've enjoyed it.
Glad to see that you're one of the new great supporters. I shouldn't say new. You've obviously been there for a while, but
Yeah,
um,
not too long. Yeah, a few years. So yeah, we were glad to get the opportunity, and yeah, it's been great. It's been a win-win. And yeah, I recently got back from a safari myself, so it was difficult for me to keep my hand down and not bid on stuff after just getting back from Africa and seeing all the different trips they had available that you could bid on.
are you a big hunter, or is this something?
Yeah, yeah.
I know varmints. You love that, but what
Oh
about
yeah.
other hunting?
Yeah, no, the safari thing was a first for me, but yeah, hook, line, and sinker. I mean, I shot more than everyone else in the camp, so everyone's kidding that my bill's higher than all the rest combined. But no, I had a great time. I'm
Where were you?
Namibia. We went with Joe Mevy, or I guess they had won 2015 Outfitter of the Year, but right outside Namibia there.
Oh, okay.
Olmajevi
Oh,
was the name of the.
yeah, don't know them. I've been there a couple times, and one of the people that I had on the podcast was Deneen, which she actually is the president of the Namibia
Oh wow.
Professional Hunters,
Oh,
and
interesting.
she was actually one of the speakers last year at the gala, and just such an interesting woman. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, that would be super interesting. Yeah, that's
Well, it was really cool because you don't see a lot of female professional hunters.
true.
Actually, I think she's probably the only one, and then she's the president of the. I think it's. I know for sure of the Namibian PHs, but I
Right.
think she's got a pretty high position in the African Professional Hunters organization. I think I'm not sure,
Yeah,
but she was
interesting.
really awesome. She was a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, that's should try to.
So what did you harvest while you were there?
Oh gosh, there's a whole list of
How
stuff.
long's the list?
Yeah, it was. I think it was 21.
Oh, jeez,
Yeah,
really?
yeah. I should think about the ones I missed. So they didn't have any warthogs because I think it was too dry. They had some drought issues. So they didn't really have that many warthogs to pick from. Boy, I would love to have had a honey badger. I didn't get that. I'd love to have gotten a cheetah leopard. I didn't get that. So mostly the plains games, but I definitely have to go back because there's always the list of the ones you missed, and it's like, gosh, man, if I was just here another week.
So all plains games though, right?
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Yeah. Yeah, just some of the other random ones, like for some reason I enjoyed the ostrich. I don't know why. They're like, man, those things run so quick, you're gonna have a hard time with that one. I'm like, I'm in. Let's figure it out. And the
Well,
baboon too.
Africa's a great
Gosh.
place. Oh, the baboons, I love the baboons. I
Oh, me
was last
too.
time I was in Namibia because they hate them there. I mean, they
Yeah,
absolutely hate
100%.
them.
You're right. Yeah.
And the last time I was in Namibia, I spent 2.5 days stalking a monster kudu. I mean, a
Oh yeah.
monster with huge prints, and never got close enough. It was maybe 10 feet, 15 feet, 20 feet, but it was at night. It was
Oh
too dark. I couldn't see.
yeah.
So the last day we were there, I was there in the morning and had a flight in the afternoon. We're out in the morning stalking this kudu, and finally we said, okay, that's got got to pack it in, go back to camp, get ready to go.
Yep.
And there was a baboon, a family of them at 500 yards.
Yep.
And this kid was standing up on the rock looking at us and screeching at us.
Oh.
And I told the guy, the PH, I said, give me the sticks. He says, it's too far away. I said, no, it's not. Give me the sticks. Because I spent a lot of time shooting long distance out of my buddy's place at FTW Ranch.
Yeah.
And so he said, no, too far away. I said, give me the sticks. So he gave me the sticks, 500 yards, and I put it right in his chest.
That's perfect.
And the PH and this tracker were just laughing and laughing and laughing. They thought it was a riot. But they hate the damn things there.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess you'll be going back.
100%. Yeah. Like everyone says, you're planning a trip on your way home. And I definitely was. I was like, I got to go back. Yeah. I love the baboons too. I mean, it seems like they're always running. They see you and they're off. And it's like, all right, that's a challenge.
Yeah. So when are you going back for
that's a good
the
question.
next ones?
Yeah. I haven't decided if I should.
You've got leopards left. You've
got,
leopards.
Cape
Buffalo. You've got lots of
Yes.
stuff
I
left.
know. Totally. Yes. Capriva or somewhere is what they're saying I should go to next.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I was
Well,
thinking.
you can get out of Namibia too, you know.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah.
You know, although I think Namibia's, my friend Deneen wouldn't be happy, but I'm going to South Africa beginning of July.
Aha. That's not long. Good for you.
Yeah, my friends here at Dallas Safari, or not Dallas Safari Club, Safari Classics, they want to film a nice hunt, so we're going to. I think I've got a Cape Buffalo, as the Africans would say, a zebra.
Oh yeah, zebra.
And a roan, actually, not a roan. Pardon me, a sable. A sable.
Oh, sable. Yeah. Hey, perfect.
Yeah, because I bid on that at the last at one of the galas here. It wasn't last year's gala. It was another one.
Right.
So that'll be fun.
Yeah, for sure. No, that'll be excellent.
But what about other hunting locally? Domestic?
You know, of course, pheasants are big here. So, and then we do like coyotes at night with like thermals. So, but boy,
yeah, but pheasants, you've got no suppressors on pheasants.
Yeah, I mean,
unless you're one hell of a shot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, true. No, that's true. Yeah, no, I definitely love the big game and the varmints much better than the birds.
Yeah, I do too, but I've got a fantastic 3-year-old yellow lab that loves bird hunting. So I like it actually. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's very social too.
Yeah, good point.
I went quail hunting for the first time a couple of months ago in Georgia.
Oh yeah, perfect.
And I had the pleasure of hunting with the governor.
Oh, hey, that's
for
nice.
Half a day. Yeah, it was really fun. He's a cool guy.
Yeah.
And the frickin' guy can shoot too. He's
a hunter. Wow. Oh wow. Hey, that's always fun.
Well, it is, and he's really a good guy. I don't know why anybody would want that job. It's just a frickin' miserable job.
Oh yeah, everyone's getting a hard time.
We hunt and he's out in the field with us, and he's like all other guys. You know, he's just enjoying the hunt.
Yeah.
Gets back, wanted to have a beer, and we're heading off to have a beer with a few other people, and one of his handlers comes up and says, "Governor, we have to go." You know,
man.
I mean, their time's just not their own.
No, yeah, right. Yeah, that's not fun.
So, any big hunts planned other than you at 21 animals, you spent all your money.
Yeah,
true. You have to increase business by 10% to cover.
Yeah, 100%. Let's see, week after next, we're going prairie dog hunting. So someone else set it up for me. We set up like a year ago. So I'm looking forward to that one. That'll be a good one just because I haven't been in so long.
Yeah. Whereabouts are you? I know South Dakota. Whereabouts though in South Dakota?
Yeah, good question. So Sioux Falls, South Dakota is almost kind of near Nebraska and Iowa and Minnesota. Yeah, it's like far.
I flew into Sioux Falls
Yeah.
for a pheasant hunt one time.
Yeah, it's kind of close to, all those states that kind of come together. So it's not, but then, usually to go hunting, we got to go a little further west especially for prairie dogs, or we'll go up near the Capitol Pier.
Well, I'll have to come up prairie dog hunting with you one time. And
oh yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to look you up and have a look at your suppressors and
yeah,
and then we'll talk.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
Brandon, I'm gonna close us off now. I think we've been on for 45 minutes thereabouts. So it's been interesting. It's always a challenge with suppressors because the law seems to change so much, and hardly anybody really understands it. So I think it was great to talk to you. I hope other people
Yeah,
felt the same
absolutely. Yeah,
listening
and
because it is kind of interesting.
no, absolutely. And I always can say at events, I mean, we're always the busiest booth. There's this intrigue about how do you get them? Are they legal? How do you use them? Stuff like that. So my recommendation is people just do a, Google search for Silencer Central or go to our website and call our phone number. And, most of the sales guys here, they're outdoorsmen. So it's hard to get rid of these guys once they get employed here, and they know a ton of stuff about suppressors. They can tell you everything inside and out on these things and make sure you get the right stuff. And then Silencer Central just mails it to your front door. So,
And you produce them all there?
good question. We have manufacturers that make them for us. So we
Okay.
have about 20 different manufacturers that make parts and assemble them, and then they come and we have a whole engineering department that, checks to make sure they're spot on 100%. But yeah, we'll do 100,000 plus a year. So it's a lot. A lot of suppressors go through this building.
I had no idea.
Yeah, it's
I,
crazy.
I'm glad Folsom introduced us, and we
Yeah,
could and get to know each other a little bit.
yeah, absolutely. We'll definitely have to stay in touch.
Okay, cool. Brandon, thanks very much for your time. Really
Yeah,
appreciate it.
absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Okay, thanks, Brandon.
Yes,
See ya.
sir.